Welcome back to the Turn on the Music podcast. This is episode 31. We're on chapter 16 of The Spirit of Music. Forgot what book we were reading. And my name is Kyle, I think. I think that's what we decided a few weeks ago. I got CJ over here to discuss the book. How are you, sir?
Doing well.
That's good.
Yep.
That's good.
That's all I got.
Cool.
It's midweek and I'm ready for Friday.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But I could complain, but it's not worth it.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a lot of random problems that shouldn't happen.
What else is new?
Well, it's our field. It's what we work in.
Yeah. Yep. If there weren't problems, we wouldn't have a job.
That's true.
So.
That is very true. You wouldn't have the job. Did you turn it off and turn it back on?
That's right.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yep.
So I don't know if I ever shared with you that in Universal Studios they have Islands of Adventure, and in Islands of Adventure they have an area called Seuss Landing, and they have a ride called the Cat in the Hat. And there's a line in the book that your mother is here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the ride, it's very like your mother is here, right? So I taught my son how to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And now he goes around the house and he'll run up to my wife and he'll be like, your mother is here. And he'll walk away.
That's funny.
It's so good. It's hysterical. That's the only fun thing I have tonight.
So I assume you're still on your audiobook kick?
I'm still on my audiobook kick. And I have to say, it's just... It keeps getting better, and I'm shocked in a series that every book is like just as good as the last. So I'm impressed. I have a long trip at the end of November, so I'm starting to build a playlist of what I want to do, because I could listen to an audiobook the whole entire time, but I don't know if I want to do that. So I want to get a playlist built that I can listen to music and maybe sort of like a couple hours in the audiobook, couple hours in the music, vice versa. Right. But for the morning time, and like I said, it's an easy listen. It's not difficult, so it's enjoyable to be able to like sit in the car, drive, listen, get a great story out of it, but I don't have to be like crazy focused on it.
Right.
So right now that's what I'm doing. My son's been listening to a lot of Michael Jackson again, so that's
cool.
Yeah, so that's been cool. So we've been doing that, and that's about it right now. I just found out Nickel Creek announced a tour.
Oh, good.
For 2024.
Cool.
One of our listeners on the live show sent me the list, and hold on, where'd it go? I just changed my service provider because I was getting tired, but now I'm missing messages. Hold on a second. Where is it? There it is. So they are, for Ohio, they are going to be in Canton. I don't know if
that's
close.
Pretty far north of me.
Is it? Columbus. They're going to be in Columbus.
It's about an hour and a half.
They're going to be February 15th in Columbus.
Oh, cool.
Right? And then the New York ones, and this is what I'm trying to figure out, like one of them is in Rochester. That's just, I'm not going to drive to Rochester for that. One's in Troy and one's in Buffalo. I know Buffalo is at least 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Troy, I'm not so sure. I think it's a few hours. But they're also in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And we've been wanting to go down, so I'm wondering if I can plan a trip where I go and like they'll just chill out in the hotel room and I'll just go see them play.
Not a bad idea.
No. They're in Connecticut. So, but I'll send this to you. But yeah, if you guys are listening to Nickel Creek, check it out. Their 2024 tour. It looks like it starts at the beginning of February. And their first city is Iowa City, Iowa. Just in case you know it was in Iowa. But yeah, not much out. What about you? Have you been listening to anything?
So I found How did I find this? I don't even remember how I found this. I think it was a Google thing that popped up one day. It was an article from Guitar Player magazine that said Steve Vai was stunned when he heard him. Joe Bonamassa says he's reinvented the guitar, and Al Di Meola says that it would take lifetimes to catch up with him. Meet Matteo Mancuso, the man who's light years ahead of all of us.
Oh, that's the kid. I follow him on Instagram.
Oh, do you?
Oh, he's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's really good.
Have you watched any of his videos?
I have, yeah.
He's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know what level he's on. Like, you know, if you're playing video games.
Well, when Al Di Meola says that you're light years ahead of him, like,
I was like, it's crazy.
I mean, Al Di Meola is light years ahead of a lot of people.
I like his videos go by. I'm like, I don't want to watch it because I just like I'm scared of the future because
I know,
and he's young. He's only in his what, like 20s?
He was born in like 96 or something.
Yeah, he's in his 20s, I think.
Yeah.
So
I thought we'd play a little bit of Matteo Mancuso. This is called Falcon Flight. His album came out just this year, August, I think.
Yeah,
I'll check the date, but this is called Falcon Flight. So it's just, let me unmute myself. So it's just some really cool stuff.
he only plays guitar. He doesn't play the other instruments, or is he on all instruments?
Correct.
He's just a guitar,
No,
right?
he only plays guitar.
Yeah.
And his band's really good. I was watching his stuff. His band is really good as well.
Check him out. Like I know you'll link whatever you can in the show notes, but definitely check him out on Instagram, on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll try to find like either some shorts or his Instagram page or something. I'll put that in there too.
He's impressive.
So, yeah. His picking technique is different than a lot of other people's, and that's what.
It's like that drummer. Do you know what I'm talking about? The guy with the beard. He's got the nose. I forget his name off the top of my head.
Oh yeah, I know you're
right.
talking about. Yeah,
He's self.
I thought you were about the horse drummer.
he's self-taught, and I think and I think that kind of goes to what the book is like if you don't have any conception of what or how you're supposed to play, it leaves your mind completely open to your ability. Right. You know, like you may watch some videos and all right, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, but if you have to figure it out, you know, because you don't have the money for lessons or you don't want to take lessons or whatever, or you're just that person, like it expands your ability. Yeah. You know, so that's pretty cool.
Yep, for sure.
That's awesome.
Shall we get to the book?
I guess so.
Okay.
We're done. Have a great evening.
Yeah, my brain is mush. I've been in a class all week, so
you've been in class all week?
Yeah, I've been in class.
For what, cybersecurity stuffy?
Yeah, cybersecurity certificate or certification rather.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. It's actually not that bad. It's just there's just a lot of information, and it's 8 hours a day, so it's.
How long? Like
full week.
For the full week, and then you take the test and you're done?
I can take the test whenever I feel like it, but I've got to have it done before July.
Okay, so this is one you were telling me about. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So
sounds like fun.
Something like that.
I mean, it's good. I mean, good for you and all that stuff, but good for you because I'm not doing it. So. Good for you and good for me because I'm not there sitting in the class.
That is true. That is true.
So
all right.
Measure
book
16 of The Spirit of Music. I'm going to hold the book up for those who are watching on YouTube.
I'll hold the chapter up.
And hold the chapter up. But we are on measure 16 of The Spirit of Music.
Mm-hmm. Chapter's called All One, and the tagline is All People Need to Be Loved.
Take it, student.
Oh, I have to do it.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, you do it this time. I did it last time. My brain's mush.
So at the end of the last chapter, they
and I didn't forget about my story. I'm going to wait until later on in the chapter to tell my story.
All right, okay, good. Because I was going to ask you in a bit what you want to do. Okay, cool.
It actually fit in, which is kind of weird, which is another story. So
okay, cool. That's awesome. So at the end of the last chapter, they were getting ready for a new training, right? And they all assumed that Sifu was just going to slap them again, right? Michael tells Brendan tells Michael he's got to go back to work. Michael's like, no, stay here. And Brendan decides not to go back to work. I want to do that. They stuffed into the van, and Michael handed Seiko a plastic garbage pail.
Mm-hmm.
Handed Ollie a ukulele. Brandon a kalimba, which he's never seen before. And Victor was handed a violin. And Victor makes note that, growing up listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire, he knew what a kalimba was, and he was hoping that it was handed to him, but he was handed the violin. Okay. And there were 4 different instruments. It was just, it was all unfamiliar to each one of them except for Seiko, who was a percussionist. So in Nashville, he states that it's customary to take in the vibe by cruising down Broadway on foot or with the car windows open. And the street in Nashville, the Broadway street, is just full of music. I remember when I went, it was impressive to kind of just go in that area. I remember walking into a music store and we ran into somebody from Blue Point, New York. Out of all places, he moved down there and he was working in this music store and he's playing. But so they decide to take the drive down. They pull into Broadway. They come up to 3rd Avenue and pulled into a parking spot. They got out of the van and basically were told to play by Michael. They gathered around and they were told to play. So Michael was just play. So this is what I have highlighted from this. Michael never understood why musicians talk so much before playing. According to him, the more musicians know, the more useless questions we ask. What key? What feel? What form? Who wants to start? We never have to ask how to start a verbal conversation, so why do we have to talk before starting a jam? Dancers, for example, simply allow music to move them, no questions asked. And I highlighted that for 2 reasons. One, because it's very true.
Yeah.
When you sit down to talk to somebody, you'll figure it out. It's not like you're, you may ask questions if it's the first time you meet them, but that's going to spark the conversation. You may even ask one question or whatever. But it made me think about what's going on in the world today. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to bring politics and war into the conversation, but just the concept of listening. And we've said it before on previous episodes. You've mentioned it multiple times where I don't think we listen to each other enough. And
Agreed.
we're just quick to dismiss or whatever. And we don't take that time. And I think that is a powerful paragraph, not just for musicians, but for anyone alike.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do think it would be fun, though, to start a conversation by asking people how to have a conversation.
That would be hysterical.
Just to be stupid.
Just be like, so how do you start a conversation? Done. I'm going to try that sometime this week.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can do it.
It's because at work, I try to do stupid things because there's enough stupid stuff going on. And there's a guy I used to work with. His name was Jimmy. He's like me. He's just, silly and stupid. So at work, we have 3 microwaves, one on the top, middle, and bottom. And no one uses the one on the bottom. So he decided what he would do is he would use the one on the bottom, but he would squat next to it while his food was being made and just stand there. So he would just sit there 5 minutes waiting for his food just to see what people would do.
That's hysterical. Just funny. I like I said, I have that. I bought I think I mentioned it on here that I bought a black rat from the dollar store and put it on someone's desk because they were
Yep.
scared of mice, and that all became thing. The other day, I forgot I had it in the box because I took it to the conference. It never made it into their room. So I took it out of the box and I walked over to the side wall and I took the little head of the mouse and I poked it over the wall. My coworker screamed out of her seat and I ran. I had to run because I would have been. And then the dad jokes cards that I've been using on the live shows, I actually bought a pack for work and I've just randomly hand them to people. So I'm giving them random dad jokes. So if I have to hand them a piece of paper, there may be a card attached to it. Because it gets a little mundane sometimes.
Yeah.
And I sit in a corner, so most people don't know I'm back there.
Yep.
So just a reminder. But it's true. It's fun to when you're listening. See, that's the other thing. If you're listening, you also know what we're talking about humor could be funny. Because you can kind of play off of what everybody else is chatting about.
Yep.
Like that whole thing. Like it's crazy. We do need to listen more. I think that's just in general, whether you're one person to one person, whether you're a group of people, and whatever the thing is, you just got to listen more.
Yep. And that comes back later on in the chapter too.
Yes.
So.
Yes. So they go to start. Victor holds the violin like a bass and starts plucking. And then he found two notes because he wasn't sure what he was doing. He found two notes on the same string and repeated them. Brandon waited a moment, played around with the kalimba, and then he joined in. And then he established his part. Seiko joined in, creating the beat with the garbage pail, the plastic garbage pail. And then Ali joined in with the ukulele. So it took him a moment, but he was able to join in. And
they played for a while.
Yes.
And then Michael.
Yes, they played for a while. Like it kind of came together. But the teachers, Uncle Clyde, Isis, and Michael, expressionless. And then Michael turns around to them and he
said,
"Huh?"
Then Michael finally says, "Why do you guys keep saying the same thing?"
But it's so funny because that could happen in conversation. So they just, yeah.
Yep.
So then Ali sings. No lyrics or words. He just an African chant. So when he says an African chant, I'm curious if it was African words, or if it is just the chant. Like,
right.
I know there's Native American chants that are really not. There's no words to it, but just the way the chant is. And then Isis says yes, and she started to sway and dance. And then people started listening. A gentleman bobbed his head. Girlfriend danced around him while another person, as another gentleman started singing with Ali. 10 people threw money on the floor. Seiko took the money. And then once the dancing couple left, their song came to an end. And Michael encouraged to choose another. And he said he wanted us to turn up the music without turning up the volume.
Yes.
And Seiko started playing a different pattern. And she lifted the pail off the ground, which gave it different sound. And then Victor remembered, just like Curtis Mayfield, play with intensity, but just not louder.
Right.
Brandon reached for the violin. Michael hadn't specified rules, so I gave it to him. They switched. He handed the kalimba to Ali. He took the ukulele. Brandon had the violin, and then Ali launched into an African melody. Brandon joined in. Then Victor joined in, and then Michael moved next to Victor. Nodded to Clyde and Isis, who started taking Brandon and Ali apart from him and Seiko.
Right.
And this whole thing starts this process of listening, but not with your ears. Feeling the music and all that stuff. And he says and I'm going to say this, so if there's something I skipped, you want to join in, let me know. But he does say to Victor, you see a girl, you see a drum, you hear a beat. 3 separate things. Make them one.
Yep.
Like, close your eyes and make them one. Okay? And then Michael says, when a person is talking, do you listen to the person, their mouth, and their words separately? And it's true. You know, I was thinking about this because my wife is hard of hearing, so she's listening to some sounds because she's got some hearing, but she has to read the lips to define what's being said to her.
Right.
So, but it's so natural to her now. It just, as long as the person's speaking clearly, she'll catch it. Mm-hmm. And then, so Victor understood. He didn't play the ukulele, and he gave a moment to listen to Seiko, and he finally kind of got into the groove. And, he's like, I no longer heard a drum or rhythm. I heard music. She was the music.
Right.
Right. And then Michael spoke one word, play. And then
I think that's a good.
Go ahead.
Sorry, good.
No.
I think that's a good point. It's a good start. A good part.
How are you doing, Mushy Brain?
I don't know. I think this is a good point to stop and talk about my story.
Yes, please.
So Monday night, after my class, I've been trying to get to Houston Woods for weeks.
Yes.
And whether it's weather or just whatever, I just never made it. So finally Monday night, I got there. And I've had two goals at Houston Woods. One is looking for owls, and two is just taking pictures of the fall leaves. That's just, it's cool. It's on a lake, some cool trees and stuff like that. So I finally made it there Monday night. And I haven't done photography in a while. So last year I switched over to Sony. Not that this matters to the story, but the camera is still new in my hand. Like, it's still not like my old camera. I knew where everything was. Like, this one I like better because it's really customizable, and I've really customized it to the way I want. But it's so customizable, I've forgotten what I've done in terms of the buttons. So I was sitting there trying to figure out, my settings and stuff. And then I heard a noise, and I was like, what in the world was that noise? And I still don't know what it is. I think it was a screech owl, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But I realized at that point that I wasn't listening at all to anything. And I remembered back in the first book, when Victor and Michael were at Radnor Lake, and they started listening to the whole area.
Right.
And right away, I heard frogs next to me. I heard things walking around, bugs everywhere. The amount of stuff that I had missed the first hour that I was there, audibly, it was crazy. Just because I wasn't focused on it, You
were focused on the camera.
Yeah, I was focused on the camera and other things. And right at that point, a bald eagle flew over with a fish in its talons. It was so much happened at that one spot. That one noise that kind of woke me up, and I was like, whoa. So then I started listening to all the sounds, and then I started losing them all, just like Victor did in the book. And that reminded me of the whole try easy thing.
Right,
and started to come back, and then I got focused on the camera again, and forgot about it. But then I got home. And then read the book today, and it was interesting how that story correlated to the chapter, and I've talked previously about when I'm driving to work, if the music ends as I pull in, I know that I'm in the right point
Sure.
of my life or whatever.
Sure.
So it's now this book is now lining up to an experience I had. It's like what does that mean? I have no idea. I don't know. So because I've spent most of this week not only taking this class, but thinking about is this really the direction I want to go? This it's a big step up in certification.
Right.
I've got a level 1 cert. This is level 3 cert. This is as top, as high as you can go pretty much in terms of cybersecurity. So it's there are a couple others, but it's pretty high up there. So it's is this the right move? I don't know. Do I really want to? Because before I started this job, I was I'm not going to do technology at all. I don't want to.
Right. Same.
So I don't know. It's it's weird that it's all kind of lining up in this way. It's maybe it's just this one next step that's right, and then things are going to turn. I don't know. So
well, and it's true. You don't know where the path's going. You just know that you're on the right path in a sense.
Right.
Not to repeat myself. Allow myself to introduce myself. But it's funny you say that because earlier I went outside and it was beautiful out, and I bought this stuff that changes the color of the fire when you put it in the fire. So I got a little fire pit. It's maybe that big, because I figured if I want to go out for an hour, I don't have to light the big gigantic one I have. I could just light this little one. but it's a decent size that I can put like 6 or 7 inch logs in it. So it's nice. And I sat outside. I had the fire going. It started getting dark because it's getting dark early now. And I sat there for a moment, and I like kind of tuned everything else out except for the fire and everything else around me. And the same thing, like, I mean, I'm in suburbia, so there's not much in the sense of animals, but I did hear the cicadas and the different bugs and all that stuff. I heard the crackling of the firewood, and I didn't really, think about it at that time because I was just kind of focusing on that just to kind of shut everything out, and I was listening to that. But it's funny that you say this because it's that same idea that you had on Monday night. You just had it on a grander scale, and that scale I rather have it on than the backyard. But that's very cool, though.
Yeah.
So go out into nature and listen. Mm-hmm. And if you live in the city, if you hear screams, go back inside.
It's probably not a screech owl.
This is not a screech owl. So that. Do you have any more to add to that before I continue on?
No, we're just going to go to what Michael said, but I don't know how far ahead that is. So
So what I was going to say was this is Victor. I wanted to he goes, without thinking or searching, I closed my eyes, allowing music to flow through me, paying attention to the feeling rather than the notes. I released my energy through the instrument. I heard Seiko gasp. She felt it too. There was no longer any separation. Seiko, music, and I had become one. And then they go forward, and he also told me not to listen, but to feel them instead, meaning Ali and Brandon.
Yep. And Michael says, know that we are all one. It is only when we refuse to listen that we feel all alone. Understand this. It is impossible to be alone except by thinking it is so. Therefore, do not think it. If we listen with our whole being, we can transform aloneness into all oneness. Now pay attention to your feelings and use them to connect with your friends.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Take music out of it for a second. I think that we could become more in tune with our friends, family, whatever you want to say, than we do. And I don't think we're taught that in any way, shape, or form. And I think it's something that needs to be taught. I think that it's like that whole concept that kids have no idea about anything when they're growing up. So everyone they meet is someone they want to meet. It doesn't matter what the ethnicity is, the race, the colors. It doesn't matter about anything of that individual. The kids want to meet them. They're not blinded by the fact that the person is quote unquote different from them. And then they learn this from whether they learned it from family or they learn it from their parents, their guardians, or they learn it from, society or whatever. And we become these like adults that are kind of like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Right. And I think that's a big problem because we don't listen to each other. We stop at some point as we're getting older, So I underlined that whole paragraph. I think I'm going to take a picture of it and say it into my voice memo so I always have it next to the one that my son goes, your mother is. I want to make it a ringtone. So after that, where is it? Just before that, didn't he put his hand basically on Victor's head? Yes, he did.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
I can't remember if that was before or after.
Yeah,
that.
he removed his hand. And Victor realized that Brandon was 10 paces to his right and Ali was away from Ali on my left. Like, so basically they weren't that far from each other in a triangle. And when he only used his ears, he scarcely heard Ali and Brandon, but when he felt it, he was able to feel all of them. And this is what he says about being joined in music caused all of us to become one unit. And I thought that's a very cool line. Then he asks Victor to pull his brothers towards him, Ollie and Brandon. He's like, how am I going to do that? He walked in circles, looking around as if he wanted to do something, and he ordered Victor to stop playing. He stopped, and just by that, everybody kind of came together.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael told everybody not to talk, and he spoke. So he leaned into Victor and he says, choose someone. Choose someone. There are hundreds of people on the street. Pick anyone you want. And Victor goes, the woman in red? And he goes, the one in front of you or the one behind me? And his eyes are closed. Victor's like, how the heck is he doing this? So Victor's like, I don't know what he's doing. I'm going to choose the one furthest away. So he chooses the one furthest away. And Michael picks up the ukulele, plays it, and she comes over. Something brings her over. So Michael hands the ukulele to Victor. He talks to the woman in red. Lady in red. Sorry, he talks to the lady in red. She tears up. He gives her a big hug, and walks away. She walks away. So he tells Victor to do it. He's like, Victor, you do it. So Victor chose a man from across the street, and he had the man come across the street. The man came across, right? And he says, I never thought about what to play. Why to play was my main focus, right?
And we forgot about that part when Michael asked Victor to pull everyone together. When he said how, he said, that's the wrong question.
Right.
I would understand if you asked why.
Right.
But how is the wrong question.
Right. Right. And it's funny. It's true. Like how and why are so different. You didn't really think about it at the time, like when you were asking a question.
Yep.
So he played, and the guy came over. He doesn't know exactly. Victor doesn't really recall everything that happened. And as the guy came over, Michael said, "Where's your sax?" The guy goes, "It's at the club. Bring it tomorrow, right here, midnight." Everybody was just shocked. They're like, "What? What? I don't understand how he did this." And later on, you find out Uncle Clyde said, he was wearing a neck strap. It was a saxophone neck strap.
Yeah.
And that's how he knew. So he tells everybody to get back to work because it was time for Ollie to try it. And he hands the ukulele to Ollie. Ollie pushes the ukulele away and remains on the kalimba, which I think surprises Michael. And then the next few hours they played. And Victor says, Michael, he showed no concern as to whether we succeeded or failed, but he did tell us not to treat our failures as failures.
Yep.
I think that's one of the hardest things for me.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he says this. He says, always treat everything as progress on the journey towards greatness. But remember, the journey is never yours alone. Think about it. If you call someone's name, it is the choice for them to answer or not. Your job is to call the correct name, but if they do not answer, he looked at me with a smile, make sure they have something to say.
Yeah. I think sometimes we forget that even though we're trying to do things on our own, we do have people around us to help us near and far. And sometimes it's just a matter of being willing to accept the fact that, hey, I need help or I have a question or whatever. And it's not like you're asking them to do it for you. You just want to progress. Then he states that Uncle Clyde played the harmonica, not harmonica. And once the chord faded in silence, there were 3 people standing in front of him. And Michael acted as though Uncle Clyde's conversation was nothing, like it just didn't happen. And that's his harmonica. His monica. And then Seiko shouted out Jonathan's name because she heard him coming due to her footsteps. And then Jonathan says, Michael, all looks good. I haven't seen any phasers, but I did find a few participants. We should have a good team tomorrow night. And they don't know what's going on tomorrow night, or in that sense. And Seafood peered into the parking lot. I like this part. This is just funny. Seafood's in the parking lot. A policeman walked over to holding his ticket book to give them a ticket on the van. And apparently Seafood just looked at him and the cop walked the other direction.
Yep.
And he says, what? I have powers too. Yours make them come. Mine make them go. I think it's fantastic. They all get in the van. Michael took a deep breath and nodded. And then Seiko asked, Michael, what you say to that woman? His one phrase answer was enough. All people need to be loved.
Another hard one. Another hard lesson from Michael.
It's true. And it's true.
Yep.
We you know, there's always that discussion that even when someone is being mean to you, that if you are responding with I'm not going to even use the word love. Let's just go as simple as kindness. If you respond with kindness, it changes that whole dynamic of that conversation.
Yep.
And that interaction and everything like that. And I think we forget that. Like, we forget that, you know, we have a tendency to react to what people are doing. We're reacting. We're being reactive versus taking a moment to say, hey, wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let me approach this. The next chapter is a long chapter. It's going to be a good one.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add to that, do you?
No.
Really? Whatever. Did you sing when the eagle went over, Fly Like an Eagle?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I cursed because I didn't move my big lens to take a picture of it.
What time in the was this, like, was it dark when you were doing this?
So I got there just before 6. Sunset was at 6:45. Eagle was about 6:30 or so.
Okay.
So it was getting dark. There was not enough light to take a decent picture of it anyway. So
Yeah. Are you going to go back?
I will go back at some point. Yeah,
Oh, very cool. After you're done with cybersecurity.
probably.
So real quick, Friday nights with Kyle at 8:00 live on Twitch. Sunday nights 7:30 live. We go together. We go together like. Those Sundays are typically last minute decisions of what we're going to do. So if you're not following us on social media, do it, because that's going to be the best way.
It doesn't even matter because we usually change halfway through anyway.
I know we do, but still, it gives you an idea of what we're doing.
Yep.
So thank you for listening to these shows. Click the link tree in the link. See what you're not following. Follow what you're not following. Join us on Twitch. Join us on Discord. Join us all over the place because, you know, we're moving forward. We're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she wrote.
That's it. We'll see you all next week. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Turn on the Music podcast. We hope that you join us next week. Click on the link tree in our show notes to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also subscribe to our Twitch and YouTube channel. If you'd like to continue the conversation, join us on our Discord. If you like what you heard, please share it with a friend. And if you really want to help us promote the show, head over to Apple Podcasts or the podcast service of your choice and give us a 5-star rating. Remember, always share the music.
Thank you.